I stood alone beside his hospital bed when the machine finally surrendered. One long, flat note. One quiet exhale that wasn't mine. The doctor marked the time. I didn't speak. There was no one to speak to. The other rooms pulsed with life. Families gathered in clusters, crying together, laughing together, remembering together. My family stayed silent. My wife, her sisters, the daughters who swore they cared, not one of them came. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I stared at his still face and wondered if he knew the truth in his final seconds. How they abandoned him long before the stroke. How he clung to me because I was the only one who still treated him like he existed. And then the lawyer's envelope slid from the pocket of his coat. My name on the deed, not theirs. He'd changed it all weeks before the collapse, after one quiet conversation on the porch. A conversation I had replayed every night since. A confession about my wife's betrayal, her secret life, her real loyalties. I hadn't believed him at first, or didn't want to, but the lawyer's envelope was heavy in my hand. Heavy with truth, heavy with everything he'd left behind. My phone vibrated then, the last person I expected, my daughter-in-law. "If you want to join Thanksgiving," she snapped, "come wash the dishes." I looked at the deed. The villa in Switzerland. The accounts. The signature. I said one word. Enjoy. I ended the call. Later, when she saw the photos, the same phone rang 71 times. I didn't answer once. The betrayal hadn't started with the hospital bed. It started months before, small fractures I ignored because I still believed in loyalty, in family, in my wife. But loyalty is a fragile thing. Once it cracks, the whole structure collapses under its own weight. It was a message that did it. A simple, stupid message flashing across her locked screen as she showered. A name I didn't recognize. A heart emoji I did. A tone that didn't belong to a family friend. My first instinct was denial. Not her. Not after 30 years. Not after everything we survived. Not after her father trusted me more than his own blood. But the mind knows what the heart refuses to accept. And that single message began the quiet unraveling of the life I thought I understood. Her father noticed it too. How she avoided me. How she prioritized everyone but me. How she treated my silence as permission. He saw more than he ever said. He watched his own daughters become strangers, watched them circle him for inheritance scraps, watched them forget his existence except when they needed something. Maybe that's why he called me the night before his stroke. His voice was cracked, brittle. "She's not who you think," he whispered. "She hasn't been for a long time." I didn't ask questions. I didn't confront her. I simply listened. And a part of me broke without making a sound. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I didn't even raise my voice. Instead, I became still. Stillness is underestimated. It gives the impression of acceptance while the mind sharpens itself in silence. I began watching. Phone bills, locations, late nights that didn't align with the excuses she repeated mechanically. A perfume on her clothes that wasn't hers. A restaurant receipt with 2 entrees and a bottle of wine she once claimed to hate. I spoke little. She mistook that for weakness. I moved like a surgeon, precise, emotionless, deliberate. DNA tests for things that shouldn't have needed testing. Financial statements, screenshots, legal consultations. Her father deteriorated during those months. I visited him even when she didn't, even when her sisters pretended their absence was normal. He watched me walk in every day with the same calm expression, the same quiet strength, the same silence he trusted. "One day," he whispered, "you'll need the truth more than comfort." He was right. The night before the stroke, he handed me the first envelope. He'd rewritten the deed, made changes he feared his daughters would contest. His hands shook as he signed. "You earned this," he said, "not them." I didn't understand the weight of it then. Not until everything collapsed. The truth arrived in one brutal, printed line. Her affair wasn't new. It wasn't recent. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. A years-long, calculated choice. I stared at the confirmation in my hands. Dates, messages, transfers, hotel reservations. Patterns that had been invisible to me until suddenly they weren't. I walked into the kitchen that evening while she cooked, humming like a woman with nothing to hide. I placed the folder on the counter. She glanced at it, annoyed. "What's this?" I didn't speak. She opened it. Her face broke first, shock, then fear, then a kind of terror only truth can carve into a person. This isn't, listen, I can explain. I raised a hand. Silence fell like winter. Her mouth trembled. Her eyes filled. She waited for rage. I gave her nothing. Nothing is worse. Her sisters rushed when they heard their father died. Not to mourn, no, to see what they could collect. They arrived breathless, fake tears ready. I sat in the hospital hallway, the deed in my lap. "My father's property," one began. I handed her the document. All three read it. Froze. Their expressions changed slowly. Confusion, disbelief, then a dawning horror they couldn't swallow. "Why is your name—" "Because he trusted the only person who stayed," I said. My voice was soft. Softness hurts more. Their eyes burned. Accusations rose. I didn't listen. Later, when my daughter-in-law demanded I earn my seat at Thanksgiving, I simply sent photos. The villa, the lake, the private road, the view of the Alps. Silence. Then calls. 71 of them. I didn't answer. I stood alone that night, looking at the hospital one last time. The rooms were still lit. Families still gathered. But I felt nothing. Grief requires attachment. Mine had already died. Betrayal doesn't wound forever. It only wounds until the truth replaces the lie. And truth is liberating. I walked away from all of them, my wife, her sisters, the greedy hands that reached only when it benefited them. I didn't need revenge. I only needed clarity. And clarity is the sharpest blade. In the end, I didn't crush them. I simply stopped holding them up and watched them collapse under their own weight.